breaking news.
We are following breaking news about a shooting at Seminole High School in Sanford.
Department. With me, I have Seminole County Superintendent Sarita Beeman. We're here to provide information regarding the shooting that took place at Seminole High School, which is located at 2701 Ridgeland Avenue here in Sanford. What I'm going to do is try to give you a timeline of the events that took place today. These are kind of as close to the times as things took place. So at 11:57 this morning, Officer Ramos, who's one of the SROs who works at the school, identified that there was a weapon on campus and that there were shots that were fired. What she also relayed was that there were students who were running and requesting assistance. At 11:58 this morning, SRO Rivera advised that he was with a shooting victim located at the Tomahawk building, which is on the back of the campus, and that he was requesting fire and additional resources to come. At that point, several officers were responding from the Sanford Police Department as well as the Seminole County Sheriff's Office to the scene. The school was placed on lockdown and perimeters were established around the building. Between 12 o'clock and 12:03 this afternoon, the description of the suspect was released. He was identified as a black male wearing a blue hoodie, a black mask with dreads, which had half of his hair was blonde and half of his hair was black, and a possible name at that point was being developed. The school and the officers were continuing to determine if this was the suspect. We continued to put information out. Again, at this point, we had several REACT teams who were starting to come on campus, and the teams began to do searches inside of the Tomahawk building, the surrounding areas for the suspect. A possible direction was identified that the suspect had possibly run toward the Rosalia apartments. Between 12:05 and 12:08, law enforcement made contact with Principal Rodriguez, who advised that the shelter in place was in place at that time and that additional information was provided by the principal to us. About 12:09 around the building, the Tomahawk building, we located 9mm casings at the location. Between 12:10 and 12:12, the fire department realized that it was secure enough for them to go to the victim. At that point, we realized that we had a subject who had been shot 3 times. At that point, he was transported to Central Florida Regional Hospital. The adult black male victim was born in 2004. At 12:14, we continued to search the building and the surroundings. Law enforcement located a 9mm in the bushes around the tennis court. By this time, we continued to search the buildings and make sure that the students were secure and that the school continued to remain on lockdown. About 12:15, we put together a unification location for parents, and we're providing them information through our Facebook, our Twitter, as well as the school board was continuously informing the parents about the circumstances and things that were taking place, so that the parents understood that we were, the school board and the police department, were doing everything to make sure that the students were okay. At 12:20 this afternoon, the suspect was taken into custody. He's a 16-year-old black male who was born in 2005. At 12:20, again, the officers continued to do searches around the building, for any possible additional weapons, if there were any that were there. Though the suspect was in custody, it was determined that shelter in place in other buildings were to secure and make sure that the campus was secure for the students, and that meeting with the school board, the decision was to made that we would do a late release on the main campus. Therefore, those students who were on the main campus were to shelter in place until about 2:45, 3 o'clock this afternoon, which would be a late release. At 1332, the ninth grade center began to do a release, so the ninth grade students were allowed to leave the school. And at 1348, about 1:48 this afternoon, we had the ability to clear the campus and make sure that the school was safe. With the assistance of the witness and staff and in-school surveillance, it was later determined that the suspect was the only shooter, and that the other kids seen running were running away from the incident for their own safety. Again, the suspect was taken into custody without issue. As this is an ongoing investigation, as you all know, we can release information, or will release information, as the situation allows. The preliminary information kind of determines that it centers around a young lady or dispute over a young lady in school. Presently, we have no information period that this is a gang-related situation. Zero. There's nothing to identify that. And again, this is still early and preliminary. We're talking to witnesses, and I know they're in the process of interviewing the suspect right now as well. This incident that occurred today is one that we prepare for. We hope that never happens. We're grateful that there was no loss of life today, but however, the gravity of this, that thing that happened doesn't lessen the fact. I'm proud of the swift actions of the school resource officers and other law enforcement that immediately responded and provided aid and ensured the safety of the students on campus. Our focus now is to make sure that all aspects of the investigations are thoroughly addressed and charges are filed against the suspect. What I'll do now is I'll bring the superintendent up, and she'll be able to speak about the circumstances.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarita Beeman, Superintendent of Seminole County Public Schools. And as the chief mentioned, we have at this point discerned that this is an isolated event involving one student victim and one student that is a suspect that is now in custody of the Sanford Police Department. Law enforcement was on campus at the time of the shooting, and we are thankful that the Sanford Police Department and the Seminole County Sheriff's Office responded so quickly to make sure that our students are safe and that we have been able to reunify them with their families in a safe manner. We have, at the time, even while in lockdown, made sure that we had counselors on campus to provide students with support, and we will have those counselors there tomorrow as well. And school will go forward tomorrow as normal. This was an isolated event, and we'll make sure that our counselors are there to support both our students and our staff. We look forward to getting to the bottom of how this could have happened. You are correct, Chief. This is the worst day for any school system where there is a student that is harmed on our campus, and we will do everything in our power to find out all the details and make sure that all that are responsible are appropriately addressed and that our campus remains safe. Thank you.
And so as the superintendent alluded to, it is paramount that we work together to make sure that our students have a safe place for them to go to school and learn. You know, kids leave home every morning with the expecting that nothing is going to happen to them. But when situations occur, we are grateful for the fact that we train, that we work together, that we communicate with the school board, that we communicate with the sheriff's department, that when something does occur, we have that ability to go in and react as soon as we possibly can to ensure that the students are safe as we can possibly make them. So I'll take a couple of questions, but one second. But let me preface that is that it's still an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to be able to go into any more detail than I've already provided to you. Again, the suspect is in custody. He's in the process of being interviewed, as well as conversations and interviews are being done with many of the witnesses right now.
When was the victim shot, like, on his person? How is he doing, and is he being cooperative?
Actually, we're not going to release that right now because he's still a juvenile, and as soon as the other person is charged, then we'll be able to provide more of that information.
We're hearing from students that this happened in a bathroom, and do you have any idea how this gun was even brought on campus?
I don't have any information related to that, how it's brought on.
No clue on how it was brought on campus?
No, none whatsoever.
Was the student the victim a football player? Do we know that?
I don't have that information.
Does the suspect have a criminal record?
Again, I don't have that information. Until he is charged, we really can't release any more of that information related to him.
Just to
We're told that he
clarify,
did-
was he caught on campus or was he caught off campus?
He was caught on campus.
We're told that this shooter might have had a previous incident at this high school involving maybe a gun or something similar. Do you have any idea of that?
I have no information related to that.
I have a question for the superintendent. There's been a number of incidents in Seminole County schools over the last couple of months, especially right before the break the last couple of weeks. What is being done to calm the tensions that might be existing, keep the social media fights online instead of in person with these weapons?
Well, and as Chief mentioned, we are working closely with our law enforcement partners, both the Sanford Police Department and the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, on all of our programs throughout all of our schools to address exactly those issues. We are in conversations daily. Our security staff person is in-house, is also a member of the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. And so that continuous conversation and collaboration is happening for our students.
Superintendent, as an understandable reaction, some parents are already saying they may not want to send their child to school tomorrow. What would be your message to those parents who are just uneasy about what has happened today?
I absolutely understand that concern. We will all be there along with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, the Sanford Police Department. There will be enhanced law enforcement presence on campus along with mental health counselors to talk to students that are experiencing trauma from this experience, and we want to be together and to move forward together. So I would encourage our parents that we're all going to be there for our students.
How many
Is there one or two SROs on campus today?
I believe there were 3.
Oh, wow.
Nope.
And then the gun
I'm
was
sorry?
found in the bushes
So-
on campus?
So each of our, Seminole High School is our larger of our schools. There are actually 4 officers who are on the main campus and 1 officer that's actually assigned to the 9th grade center. As far as getting the weapon on the school, we have no idea how he brought the weapon on campus. I'm going to say that information will probably come out during the course of his interview, and that we'll have a better understanding once that is done and the charging documents are set forth.
You had said a 9mm something in the bushes. Was that the gun that was found in the bushes?
We believe it is.
Okay. And was he found like in a classroom or a room?
He was found outside.
Chief, you said that that right as of right now, officers are not sure how the gun was, how they managed to bring the gun onto campus. Do Sanford police officers usually check for that sort of thing? Or?
We do not search the students when they come on campus.
Okay.
Was the victim found in the bathroom?
I'm not exactly sure where the victim was located.
Can you explain why we're not releasing the names at this point of either the victim or the suspect?
Juveniles.
Okay.
Superintendent.
Would he be charged as an adult?
Not sure. That'll be a determination for the state's attorney.
And once somebody's charged, will you be releasing the suspect?
Yes, once he's charged.
Superintendent, was the school district aware of any history between the 2 particular students?
I don't have that information at this time.
Chief, how many casings were found? Do we know? How many casings?
I believe there were 3.
3 casings, so 3 shots?
I believe so.
Superintendent, what would be your response to parents who might have been concerned or maybe even a little frustrated at the initial announcement that there was an incident happening at the school without specifying that it was in fact a shooting?
Well, and I don't have all the information about that. I know that our district was pushing out communication as we were able to do so in a safe manner for our students, and as we were getting the information at the time.
And just for clarification, did the school resource officer hear about the weapon first and then heard the shooting, or was it just kind of all at one time?
I believe it was just all at one time. So thank you guys, we really appreciate it.
You have been listening live to Sanford Police Chief Cecil Smith talking about the shooting on the campus of Seminole High School earlier today. The chief says it happened just before noon, around 11:57. The school resource officer, who was already on campus, heard shots fired and then ran in that direction. The officer found one victim, a student at Seminole High School, on the ground with 3 gunshot wounds. He says the student was transported to Central Florida Regional Hospital to undergo surgery.
And as you can imagine, that activated a large police response. That school resource officer called in for help. Police rushed to the campus and started looking in Tomahawk Hall as well as a nearby apartment building. They tell us they were able to catch up to the suspect on campus. They also picked up a gun. They saw 3 shell casings. An investigation now underway. The school was on lockdown throughout the day, but just before 2 o'clock, students were released into the custody of their parents, and now an investigation is underway. A 16-year-old student also in police custody right now. As far as the charges, they're still working through that. This investigation really just beginning, Lou.
Yeah, Ray, the police chief was saying that he believes this argument was about a girl on campus. They say it does not appear to be gang-related at all. But once again, we are hearing that one victim was transported to Central Florida Regional Hospital. That student had 3 gunshot wounds. And we have a team of reporters across Central Florida right now working, gathering information about this story. And we will have much more coming up on Fox 35 News at 5.
And you can watch that press conference and find the latest on the shooting over on fox35orlando.com and on Fox 35 News app. We'll see you at 5 o'clock.